The views and opinions expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the podcast or its host, Rob Drake.
How we escaped.
This podcast episode recounts a traumatic and life-altering event for a young teenager and contains themes of abuse and control. Listener discretion is advised. Imagine that you are 13 years old and vacationing with your parents in a foreign country. You have just arrived at the beach, and you are excited because you want to go snorkeling. But when you get there, you find a problem, a big problem.
When we got to the beach, my problem was there was no water. There was just a very thin line on the horizon. And my initial thought was to leave. Let's just go back.
Meet Monica Connelly, who was 13 years old on December 26, 2004. Her family was Portuguese.
We were on vacation for the Christmas holidays. At the time, we were living in China, and so my parents decided that for Christmas, we would go to Thailand.
Monica knew something was wrong when she got to the beach, and there was no water. But she and her parents decided to stay.
Some things happened before. It was just strangely hard for us to get to the beach that day. So we had finally made it, and I felt it was wrong of me to ask my parents to just leave when we just got there. So I don't say anything, just go with the flow. Eventually find a spot to set down our things, and me and my dad just go on a walk on this beach that has no water. And that should have been a sign, of course, but we didn't know anything, and everyone that was at the beach that day didn't know a thing either. It was just odd, but we are not from there. We don't know that it's not just a very low tide. We are just ignorant.
When Monica looked out at the sea, she noticed something else strange.
Also at the horizon, I noticed there was this very big boat, which I later found out it's actually a military boat or a police boat. It was stranded on the sand, but it should have been another sign. But we also just, it was odd, and we just kept going with our lives.
What happens next is the topic of Monica's book, which is called Surviving a Tsunami at 13. You can find her book on Amazon, in print, Kindle, and as an audiobook. I've added a link to her book in our show notes. Today on our podcast, Monica shares her amazing story of surviving the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami.
This is the How We Escaped podcast. And now, here's your host, Rob Drake.
Greetings, fellow sojourners. Welcome to the How We Escaped podcast. So Monica is vacationing with her parents in Thailand. She is walking on the beach, but there is no water, just a bunch of floundering fish. And then her mom starts yelling at her.
So I look back, I run to her, realizing that I was really far away. I had no idea. And I thought that was the problem, that I walked really far away. But when I get to my parents, my dad's taking pictures. My mom's very panicked, telling me to grab my things. There's other people around just looking at something behind me, right, taking pictures also. And that's like when I turn around. And what I see doesn't scare me because it's not like in the movies, especially at a distance. It didn't look, the wave was very big. But I noticed how we went under that military boat very easily. And the water just kept coming, and in my innocence, I thought I was just going to fill up the empty space. And I don't know if other people just thought the same thing. Eventually, everybody's running.
What did the wave look like? How tall was it?
I would say maybe a story high, or maybe a little more than that. And it's, of course, bigger than a regular wave, but it's after it curls, and it just it's just maybe the size of a house, as tall as the house would be. But the strength, the power, is just like a water wall that just destroys everything it hits. and swallows everything it hits. And one of those glimpses that I'm like running and looking back, I see it just destroy this little shack like it's nothing. And that's really the image I have in my mind that helps me say it, how high it was, because it was just a little over the roof of that shack.
And then Monica is running for her life. And at first, her parents were close behind.
Yeah, they were just gone. I would look back, they were there, I look back, and they're gone. And all my dad would say was, every time I look back, my dad was right behind me, and he would tell me to go, go, go. So every time I glanced back, he would just tell me, go, 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 until he wasn't there anymore to tell me, go, go, go. But still, I heard his voice, go, 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 in my mind. As I'm running, and I keep glancing back over my shoulder, and then people keep disappearing, right, until there's just my parents, and then my dad, and then a wall of water. But it's not yet that I fully realize what that means, because in that moment, it just means I need to run faster. As I describe in the book, it all went to a folder called Process Later. I did not process it or comprehend it fully in the moment at all. It just meant that I needed to run faster. My single focus was just to run.
Monica is running as fast as she can, but the wave is faster.
And I see that I'm losing ground. It feels like I'm slowing down. Even though I know I'm running faster and faster and faster, it feels like I'm slowing down. The water is so fast. Up ahead, I see someone hide behind this building. So I decide to do the same, because I know I can't outrun this water any longer. And I make it behind that building, it looked like a utility house from the resort. It was quite small. I managed to squeeze myself behind the building with other people that were there, and with just, I don't know, fractions of a second, I get in there and the water starts surrounding us. It felt like I had just escaped by hair.
And this little building became a temporary refuge for Monica, and may very well have saved her life.
At least it kept me from being hit by the wall. But eventually the water surrounds the little house. I compare it to a snake in the book. Like it starts really slow, and then the flow of the water just keeps growing and getting stronger and stronger, and eventually just pulls me by my feet. The woman next to me, she extends her leg, trying like to give me something to hold on, but it's too late. I get swallowed, and that's how I get underwater.
And now Monica's struggle to survive really begins.
Yeah, we're talking maybe seconds or fractions of a second. The water surrounds the house and eventually pulls me by my feet, and I am submerged. I was swallowed by this current, and then I'm underwater, and the instinct is just to swim. I'm still not fully comprehending anything that's happening. My mind is still just solely focused on surviving. So now I'm underwater. Of course, I have to swim. That's what I do, or try to do. I realized, I can't really move without hitting something. I'm just completely surrounded by wreckage. I can't even tell what it is, just stuff. So much. And like, I'm not even sure how I'm supposed to swim, like with all these things around me. And that's when I realized I'm just another object among all of this. And so I was always a very good student in school. I loved physics. My dad was a pilot, and he loved to just give me physics lessons or math lessons. So physics was just a constant in my life, always talking about physics. And and I'm very glad about that, because in that moment, it all just came to mind. I'm just another object floating around like these in this tidal wave. I can actually use and manipulate these objects in my favor. So I test out my theory, and in the end, what was keeping me from swimming is what helped me reach the surface. Actually, the image is of me climbing through all those objects like a ladder, and they're actually helping me like go up. I reach the surface for a moment until I'm pulled back down, and then I reach the surface again and I pull back down, and this just keeps happening over and over again. And at first, I'm not panicked, I'm not frustrated. Every time I'm underwater, I just think, it's okay, I know what to do now. I've reached the surface before, I can do it again. And just very positive and focused, and like it's always okay. until I eventually asked myself, okay, I must be doing something wrong because this keeps happening. And I realized that every time I was reaching the surface, I would feel so relieved that unconsciously I was slowing down my swimming strength. And so the forces of physics would just pull me down. There was even a thought that maybe someone was underneath me, pulling me by my ankles. And then I realized, oh no, there's no one pulling me, it's the water pulling me. The next time I reach the surface, I just keep swimming as hard as if I was underneath the water. I just keep like as hard as I can possibly go. And I managed to stay with my head at surface, and I'm able to breathe not just once, but continuously. And I just think, I feel my legs starting to hurt. And I just think to myself, it's okay. As long as I'm breathing, I can handle this. I got this. And just like, and again, with very positive thinking, like my legs are strong. All the sports I did before, like I got this. As long as I'm breathing, everything's okay.
And then Monica was falling through the air.
Suddenly, I find myself completely in the air and I'm very confused. I don't know what's happening. I can see my legs. How is this possible? And then I look down and I see that I'm free falling. I had been projected through a cliff, or maybe the ground had sunk. I don't know. I just know that I'm free falling. I have this picture of like a waterfall in front of me. And then for the first time, I am terrified. There's nothing I can hold on to. There's no way I can swim or run myself out of this situation. So that just leaves fear. And fear completely takes over. And I am in just pure panic. I'm screaming the whole way down. My own scream feels strange. It's like I can't believe this sound's coming out of me. So it just builds up. It makes me even more afraid. It keeps building up until I reach the water, and it's like the bubble burst. I don't even know if the impact hurt. Suddenly I'm underwater again, and it's like I wake up and I realize that I had made a grave mistake. The whole time that I was falling and I was screaming, I let all the air in my lungs out. So now I was underwater again, but I had no air in my lungs. It felt like I was deeper just because I kept swimming and I was not reaching the surface. And it just felt like a really, really long time. I keep expecting to reach the surface at some point, but it's not happening. Right. And I keep swimming the way I was before, keep hoping, keep getting disappointed. The pain in my body just keeps growing, especially my chest. And I try to focus on smaller pains in my body, like my arms and my legs. And it feels like I can feel every cell, every muscle fiber working for me. The pain is so intense. It feels like I can feel them all. And time keeps passing by and the pain keeps getting worse. I have this scary thought of drowning, how it happens when people can't fight the instinct to breathe anymore. And then the water fills up their lungs, and that's when they truly drown. So my focus then changes to my mouth, and I'm just telling myself to keep my mouth closed over and over again, and time keeps passing by.
So now are you thinking about the possibility that you might die?
Yes, my mind starts drifting into spiritual conversations I used to have with my mother, and there's this one that really came to mind where she was telling me about, I think it was actually a boy in this story, but there was many stories like it where people are between life and death, and an angel appears and offers them a choice between life and death. And I think about this and I think, well, isn't it time that I get that same choice? So in my mind, the pain is just so unbearable. I am ready to give up. And this thought of just stopping, because through all of this, I'm still swimming. I never stop. But the thought of just stopping and letting go comes to mind. It's very comforting, and I even feel all that pain just dissipating until there's just no pain at all, and just this incredible sense of peace. And then I hear a voice in my mind say, or you can live. So that was my choice. I go through it in my mind. I look back at what my life had been until this point, and I realize, death is a certainty. I will die, whether today or some other day, or many years from now. Death is it's a guarantee, but life is not. So I'm gonna choose life. And there's things I haven't accomplished. I don't feel like I have lived at all. At 13, my life just was school and home. I hadn't done anything. And I just really wanted to die knowing that I had done something. So I choose life, and I tell this voice that I choose to live. And the moment I do, I reach the surface.
Where did this voice come from? Who do you think it was?
I don't know what to call it. I don't know if I would call it an angel or God. I just, even in the book, I just say the voice, the presence, because I don't know how to label it. And maybe it's the angel from my mother's stories. But the fact is, I tell it I choose to live, and I reach the surface that instant. Of all the moments that I could have reached the surface, it was that one.
And then something appears in the water. Something that Monica can use to keep herself from being propelled forward.
So I am at the surface this time, and the water is not pulling me down like before. It's taking me through a place with lots of trees around me. And between two of these trees, there's just this wire, this cable, just, connecting two trees. It doesn't seem to have any function or reason for it. I don't know why. But it was there. It was at the perfect height and distance for me to just reach and grab and hold on to it. That's where I stay until the water starts receding.
Now remember that Monica is only 13 years old. And while she is hanging onto the wire, she has a very teenage moment.
I hold on to this wire, both hands, and I just pull myself out with a strength that is not my own. I was pure adrenaline. Like, I could have never done that. I even joke a little bit in the book how I wish my PE teachers could have seen me, because I lift my whole body out of this hole, out of this pit that I was in. I reached the tree that's right in front of me, and I get to take a look of this black hole that I was in. I see all the wreckage the tree had protected me from, like a shield. As I'm getting out of the pit and trying to reach the tree, there's my bikini top. The laces get stuck on a twig behind me. So I pull it free, and when I pull it free, I get the lace undone, and then I had to let go of the wire. And I'm balancing on these wooden planks that are floating on the surface, and there's coconuts. I got and I tie it because I gotta stop and do this first. I don't care if there's another wave coming. I gotta do this first. It's just ridiculous, and I call it a very teenage girl human moment. And that's actually where I realize the thought hits me that my parents passed away. It's at that moment.
What was it at that moment that made you realize your parents were gone?
But as I'm holding onto the wire, I have this sensation that, spiritually, someone's putting their arms inside mine. And it's when I'm out of the pit and I'm leaning on this tree, I have the thought that those arms, they were my mother's. And so if she was helping me that way, it meant that she was no longer in her body, that she passed away. And I could not fathom my dad being alive without my mother, so he must have died away. And I was just so certain about it, that every time there was an opportunity to have hope that they were still alive, I would just go back to that and remember, no, I know, I had that feeling, I have that very, very strong feeling. I know they did not survive this. And of course, hindsight, I am really glad, because I think that having had hope during what was 3 months until they found my parents' bodies, it would have been so much worse, the pain, and I could see that in my family, because they held out hope and I didn't. I saw how they were completely crushed, and of course I was too, but 3 months in, it was more of a confirmation for me than news, if that makes sense. So I actually am very glad that in that moment, God told me that they had passed away. And I always say, God will always tell you the truth, even if it hurts. And I'm just very glad that I held on to that truth instead of false hope, because hope is a beautiful thing, of course. But when it's false hope, I think it's possibly the worst thing, to have a false hope.
Leading up to this event, how would you describe your faith? Were you religious growing up?
I was searching. So my dad had been raised Catholic, and he absolutely hated the church. So I had the side of my dad always talking bad about the Catholic Church specifically. And then my mom, I guess you would call her New Age or spiritual, but not religious. And from her, I like more of a Hindu Buddhist views, kind of blended in together of like many lives and souls traveling together and karma and your higher self, and how we're all like one with God, like our higher self is the one with God, and we can all attain nirvana and be like Buddha. So I believed in God, but I didn't yet know him fully. I was searching, and the reason I could listen to God's voice or the angel's voice or whatever you want to call it in this instance is because I was in that survival instinct. I was not rationalizing anything. So whatever thought came to mind, I would do it. So just the way I was swimming, the thoughts were coming to my mind, I was doing it. The choosing life and death, I was never questioning it. I would just hear it and take it at its value. I didn't have time to question anything. And then I think that's why it was easy to hear God, because my own self was out of it.
So back to the story, Monica finally encounters another human being.
So once I get out of the pit, I'm calling it the pit, I decide to just stop for a second and take a mental picture of everything around me. And as I'm just standing there, this man approaches me. And remember, he's very bright blue eyes and thinking that look angelic. And he just asked me if I'm alone, what my parents' names are, and he probably thinks I'm in shock. And I don't know if I am or not, but as he's talking, I'm just thinking about my parents' names and not knowing what name to give him, because they always went by their nicknames, and he obviously doesn't speak Portuguese. I can tell he has an accent, so he's not going to be able to repeat it with my parents, even though they're being called. If someone's not saying it right. But then if I give him their first names, like the same thing, but my parents even know it's them because no one ever calls them that. I'm just struggling with that question. It's just such a simple question, and he's just patiently waiting for an answer. He's not rushing me. Eventually, I tell him it's Maria and Jose, Mary and Joseph. And I have this odd thought that, wow, they're the same names of Jesus' parents. How odd. And again, a voice in my mind says, and I am Jesus. But I push it aside. I ignore it. I think my brain is just trying to be funny because it's a very nerve-wracking situation. When someone's nervous and they try to jokes and stuff. So I thought, my brain's trying to be silly right now. I just push it aside. But, he tells me where to go, just points to a path for me to follow. And as I'm just standing there, he tells me to go, just like my dad did before. And that really snapped me back to reality. And I just start running on this trail that he pointed to.
Were you concerned, or was he concerned that there might be another wave on the way?
Yes, so that's what he tells me, that there's another wave on the way and that I need to go. Yes, and that snaps me back to reality. I don't want to go through another wave. So I just start running, and I'm running again. And there's other people on this path running, and this old lady that to my young self, I thought she looked like 90. She probably wasn't 90 years old, but when you're young, you think everybody's older. But she had like completely white hair, very deep wrinkles, and she's just running very slowly. She goes, crosses in front of me, goes to the side. It's like time, I don't know why it just happened exactly, but it's like time slows down, and I'm just mesmerized by this woman. And I decide to follow her footsteps, and I'm running behind her on the side of the path, on the plants, because the path that he pointed was it had little rocks or gravel. So it hurt to run on there barefoot, but on the side, it was amazing. It was like cotton. So there I am, and I'm just so grateful for this lady. And suddenly, my mind takes a very dark turn. It's like being attacked from within with just very negative thoughts, even when your life is in danger, you can't run faster than a 90-year-old woman. You're always last in school, just blah, 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 blah. And it's probably for the first time in my life, I get angry and I tell this voice, enough. And then I was like, of course I can run faster. And all the anger was like channeled through to my legs, and I was able to run at a faster pace. And I realized that those negative thoughts, they didn't come back after that, after I told you just enough.
And then, seemingly out of nowhere, a red pickup truck appears.
So I get to the end and I don't know where I'm supposed to go after this. I just knew that I had to run this trail. I run, and then I don't know where I'm supposed to go. This red pickup truck shows up and I think, oh, maybe I should go with them. I climb on the back. Other people start climbing, but the driver comes out. He says, no, I'm going like towards the beach to grab, people that probably need help. I don't know. And so, but in the moment, I'm still very self-centered, and I'm just like, okay, he's not taking me to anywhere safe. And so I just jump out, and he's trying to explain himself, and he's like gesturing, and he points towards the mountain, and I realize, oh, the mountain, that's where I'm supposed to go.
And so up she goes on the mountain, higher and higher, until she begins to feel safe.
At this point, my body is completely exhausted. I just keep pushing it, and I fall. And as I fall, I slip a little bit, and I just hold on to the plants not to slip any longer. And I'm too weak to get up, so I go on my knees, then I fall again, and I'm just crawling. I just really that instinct of survival. I was probably safe at the base, but I didn't feel safe, so it was just very hard to snap out of survival instinct. Eventually, I reached a group of people that I had set my mind to, and I finally feel safe. I can finally rest. Through the trees, I can see bits and pieces of the beach. Everything looks really small, and that's comforting. And that I'm too high, that it looks small, and it almost looks normal. And the water is a different color. There's some trees in the water that are not supposed there, but I just had this thought, if I had just got here right now, I would have never guessed what happened.
As Monica begins to look at the people around her, she realizes there is a big difference between her and them. She is wet, and they are not.
There's this German lady that comes to me. She puts a towel over my shoulders, and she's very surprised that I am soaked. And she asks if I had been in the water. I say yes. She's just horrified, and I'm still not really getting it. She goes and tells her little group in German what I said. She asked me if I was alone. I said yes.
And then Monica does see someone else who is wet. And what happens next changes her life forever.
How we escaped.
Hi, Rob Drake here. Do you have a story of escape to share with us on the How We Escaped podcast? We'd love to hear your story and to consider airing it on our show. You can contact us right now by heading over to howweescaped.com and filling out our contact form. That's howweescaped.com. You can also reach out to us on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram.
You're listening to the How We Escaped podcast with Rob Drake.
There's this man, I kind of a glimpse on him. He's wet, so it kind of catches my eye that he's wet also. I see this man reunite with his daughter right there in front of me, and that is when I would say my life changes further, if that's even possible, because I see this father and daughter reunite, and I feel their love and their tears. His little girl, she seemed to me that she was completely well. She didn't seem hurt at all, and it was just so beautiful. They're being reunited. I noticed that I wasn't thinking about my own father. I wasn't jealous. I was just so happy for them, and I get emotional at this moment because for me, it made everything worth my choice to live. Seeing them made it worth it. That I could witness this, I felt truly privileged. That right there just made everything worth it. And I didn't care about me, how my life would turn out. I didn't care at all. It was just them. They suddenly became the sole focus of my entire existence. It's like the And I described this like the whole universe would crumble and disintegrate if they were not together. It was just that important that they were. And I felt like I would have given my life if it was necessary to keep them together. And that's when Jesus comes back, and I feel his love, and I feel that that's what he did for us. He explains that that's what he did, but not just for one father and daughter, but for everyone. It was very odd to have this thought, to think about the crucifixion, because I was not raised Catholic or Christian at all. It was like the furthest thing from my mind, and I would try to like justify this in my own mind. Maybe I hallucinated some things, maybe, but it just didn't make sense that I would hallucinate with Jesus when I wasn't raised with Jesus. And of all the things that I heard about growing up, Jesus was the furthest thing, and yet that's who showed up. And he explained the gospel to me in this way, how he took all the pain and suffering of the whole world upon himself. And then later on, how this father and daughter, they're really a picture of the divine father. And in this case, it was a girl, because I was also a girl. It's like me being reunited with God the Father, in a sense, and like his tears and his grief, his joy. And this man, his back was completely scratched from top to bottom, just bleeding. So even the wounds of Christ, we could say, were represented on him. And it was just a beautiful picture of what God did.
Monica was up on that mountain the whole day. She didn't make it back to the resort until the late evening. And then the waiting began.
I stayed mainly with this woman called Patricia, who's from Switzerland, and she kind of took me in, and then every day she would go to the hospitals with a list of names, looking for people, and or taking people who needed to go to the hospital, which was very difficult because you had to drive probably over an hour to find a working hospital that would take people. Everything was destroyed. The roads were, chaotic. And whenever she would leave me with these two German ladies that were sisters. And so I just spent my days at the resort doing nothing, which I didn't like, the feeling of not being able to do anything. All I could do was just meditate and read and wait.
And for a long while, Monica's resort was cut off from the outside world.
There was no communications because there was no electricity, there was no running water, there was absolutely nothing. The food was the resort's breakfast leftovers. That's what we were eating. And I was quite okay with that because I was not hungry ever. I always ate when they offered me food because I thought maybe my body probably needs this, especially after that first day. My body probably needs it. I'm not hungry, and I knew I'm not feeling hungry at all because I'm still in survival mode. My body is not giving me the signal that I need to eat. I knew that much. So whenever someone offered me something to eat, I would take it. Also, mostly because if I didn't, they were very good people, very caring, and very worried about me. And I could see them relax a little bit, or even like a breath of relief whenever I accepted to eat and do what they told me here and there. They were just very worried, and rightfully so.
So how were you finally able to communicate with your family to let them know that you were alive?
Yeah, so it was the same day we got water, electricity, communications. It all came back. We were all in the restaurant, the resort's restaurant. Lights came on. Everybody started calling their families. And there was this Norwegian couple. They told their family in Norway about me. And then it was their family in Norway that contacted the Portuguese embassy. And then the Portuguese embassy from Norway called their phone and talked to me. I gave them all the information I could. I only knew 2 phone numbers. I remember it was a big thing, phone numbers. I only knew my house phone number and then my parents' cell phones. And then these 2 friends. But they were all that's okay, that's enough, we can do it. And I don't know how everything works in the background, but from those 2 numbers, and of course my name and where I was living and all that, they got to my family in Portugal, in Brazil, in Macau. They got to my teachers from my school, my friend. They got to everyone.
Monica needed to get to the bigger city of Phuket, just several hours away, where she would meet her uncle. But this was easier said than done.
It was just really difficult. I remember like going that main road and knocking on every door with Patricia, and sometimes we couldn't even say hi and they were already shaking their heads no and just recoiling into their dark houses, dark rooms. Like they were traumatized and you couldn't even speak with them, and we just had to leave them alone and go knock on the next doors. But eventually her friend finds someone, a couple up in the mountains. So Patricia helps me pack everything and get our documents from the resort, and then we go with her friend up to his friends up on the mountain. We are up on the mountains for a while. I talked to Patricia recently, so this is not even in the book yet, but I didn't realize what was happening. I think I blocked it out or I forgot, but we were up there for a while because there was another wave coming and we could see it from up on the mountains. And so we just waited, and like they tried to get me to feed this elephant that was there. And I just remember how I was feeling. I was very sad, just not feeling, emotionally, I was not good. And I couldn't remember why. Now I know why. And I remember Patricia trying to encourage her friend. Apparently he had a pregnant wife who was missing. And she wanted me to tell him my story about how I chose life because maybe his wife chose too. And I remember just feeling really, really bad and sad because maybe she didn't get that choice. Maybe she didn't get to even choose it. I didn't want to give him false hope. And turns out that his wife did pass away. So it's kind of a very sad ending to that part of the story.
Monica finally made it to Phuket, and there she met her uncle, who had come from Portugal to get her. Remember that Monica had lived with her parents in China. Her home had been in a special administrative region called Macau, a former Portuguese colony which was reunited with China in 1999. But now her parents were gone, and returning to Macau was not an option.
I just wanted to go back home, but the realization that I didn't have a home anymore was very difficult. So I went with this uncle of mine to Portugal, which is where he lived. Now, it was agreed upon everyone that this was the best. And, I thought I was going to be living with my grandparents in Portugal. And I had just survived death. So I was just very excited to be living. And so at first, every new experience was very exciting. I felt like I was truly living life because everything was new and I was like experiencing all these new things. And I thought that's what it was supposed to be.
Now you might think that Monica moved to Portugal and lived happily ever after. But unfortunately, in some ways, the worst was yet to come. Monica lived with her grandparents for several weeks, but then one day she had a conversation with her uncle in his car.
And he basically convinces me. It doesn't take much to convince me because it was quite rational that he was explaining that it would be better off if I went to live with him and his family because, he has more, I don't know what the right word is, like more money or more financial ability. And my grandparents are old. And I agree, like, okay. And he lives really close to my grandparents. My grandparents would go to his house every day anyway. So it was just, okay. Like, this seems right, seems reasonable. Like, I have nothing against doing that. And he had a big house and so he had room for me, and everything seems to be going well. And I'm still very happy going because everything's new and exciting. And he gets me into this really good private school. So even there, like my class, my teachers are very comforting. They're just very good. But I think there's a lot of things that happen. Then everything that's new suddenly is not exciting anymore. Like I start really missing home, and so I'm saying things like I want to go back to Macau, and I start getting really sad and depressed.
It is also about this time that Monica begins to see her uncle's behavior changing towards her.
I just started noticing that he didn't like my happiness. I suppose that being happy to be alive and having a happy demeanor after everything must have been quite offensive. Doesn't mean that I didn't have my very sad moments. I usually hid those I didn't want people to pity me. I wanted to have a normal life.
In her book, Monica describes a lot of verbal abuse from her uncle, which unfortunately only got worse.
And later on, I actually found out that he blamed me for what happened. And so that came to surface maybe 3 years into living together. In an argument, he kind of said it, and I could tell he meant it. And it's like the truth slipped out. So that explained his behavior somewhat.
How in the world, Monica, could he have blamed you, a 13-year-old, for what happened to your parents?
So it's because we went to Thailand and did this scuba diving course for me. So I think he blames us going to Thailand on this diving course that I took, versus it being like just we chose to go to Thailand instead. And while we were there, we found this thing that Monica would really like, that would be the logic. I learned to endure it and adapt to it. So I described this part in the book as well. Like, I would just wake up happy because, I'm alive. And I go to school many times without seeing my uncle or aunt or anyone, and just be with my friends in school. Like, I loved school, always loved school. So I would have a really good day, and then go back home. And at the end of the day, they would come home, and like everything would just take a turn. So I learned to hide my happiness. I would just pretend to be miserable all the time, even if I wasn't. I would hide my happiness because I didn't want it to get squashed. Because it really did seem like my uncle specifically was set out on destroying my happiness. Like, I couldn't see me happy. That's what it felt like. So I would hide it as much as possible. And I learned to just agree, end the discussion, but not really, of course, do it.
Sometimes we can orchestrate our own escape. But for Monica, because of her age, she had to wait until her escape came naturally.
Eventually, I go to college, so I'm living in another town, which is an hour and a half drives away. And that really helps me a lot because during the week, I'm away. I'm not under all that emotional turmoil. But it's not perfect. The problems still follow me sometimes, and I avoid going home. I avoid taking phone calls and stuff. And then, of course, then they complain that I never go home, or I never call, or this and that. And I was just trying my best to navigate the situation until I get my independence. My focus becomes, at some point, I'm going to be independent. I won't be living with them anymore. Now I'll be older. Everything will be okay. It takes their divorce for me to also break away from my uncle. Because my aunt, we had our problems, but she was very kind-hearted and she always had the best intentions, and I knew that. So our relationship was easily mended and fixed, right? But my uncle and mine was not. I actually walked away, and while they were going through the divorce, he started being really nice to me again. And I knew at this point that what he was doing, he was trying to buy my loyalty. Of course, it doesn't work. And then he goes back to being himself. And I just have this thought, like, I am 23 at this point. I am 23. I don't have to put up with this anymore. I can just leave. And so I just grab my dog and I leave and never come back to that house again. And then whenever I'm not at my college city, which is Evora, I would stay with my grandparents. It's actually my grandma that helped pack the few things I still had in my uncle's house, which I didn't have anything important. Most of my things were in Evora anyways, just my dog. But I took my dog everywhere with me. So yeah, I was just like, wow, I can just leave,
Monica, from a faith perspective, why do you think God allowed you to survive this tsunami only to be thrust into this really difficult living situation for years?
I don't know why. It just, even say I know why I survived. I don't truly know why I survived. I just know that I had this moment on the mountain, so I was really grateful to be alive. And I tell God that, I'll do anything you ask me. And he just asked me to share my story. So that's why I do that. That's why I share my story. It's just keeping my word. But I don't know why he put me with my uncle. But I I can look at the fruit of it. I can see that it made me stronger. It made me fight for what I want harder. It gave me a thick skin. And also, I don't think now sharing my story, people will sometimes give me mean comments online, right? Like there's always that. But I can look at that and think, wow, I've heard so much worse from my own uncle. Like, this is nothing. I can easily shake that off. So maybe maybe he was preparing me for this. I don't know. I really don't know why. What I can say is that through it all, I just felt God there. He was the one who was constantly pulling me out of the pit, like emotional. Like I had really dark periods in my life, really bad, like just wishing that I hadn't lived at all. And God was the one that kept constantly pulling me back. So like I owe everything, like my own life, not to him, not just in the tsunami, but afterwards. He just kept saving me.
Over time, Monica learned that she was asking the wrong question.
I would ask myself why many times. Why is this happening to me? And I learned that was the wrong question. It's not why this happened, but what can I learn from this, and then use it to help other people. So I just changed my question from why is this happening to me to what can I learn from this? How can I use it to better not just my life, but the life of others? So that's how I've used my own suffering.
And now we reach a happier part of Monica's story. In her last year of college, she met her true love.
So we met in Ireland. A lot of coincidences had to happen. One day I received this email from the mobility department about a summer program in Ireland. And I decided to apply for it, just like nothing to lose. So I applied for it. And apparently my husband in Texas applies too. We end up going. I get a scholarship, and then my brother helps pay for the rest. That was also another factor, is that I applied for the program, applied for a scholarship. It was expensive. They give me more than I asked for. My brother covers the rest, and I just kept thinking, wow, someone really wants me to go to Ireland. And it's students applying from all over the world. So just the fact that I was selected was, strange. You're like, wow, this happened. I never expected it to. So I met my husband in that program during the summer, and we fall in love quite quickly. And now here we are many years later.
Monica, as we wrap up this interview, what would you like to share with me and our listeners as we reflect on this amazing story?
I mentioned before how false hope was absolutely worst thing that can happen when you put your hopes, your faith, and all your trust into something that turns out to be false. It can be completely devastating, and I think worse than any tsunami. And what's helped me through it all, because I thought my uncle would be my savior, and I thought he was there to save me, but it was misplaced, because there is only one savior. His name is Jesus Christ, and it's through it all. He, like I mentioned, he kept saving me. He kept just holding me whole through the worst, and just putting my faith in him and hoping that things would get better one day, putting my hope in him. It's what eventually let me out. And it wasn't as I expected. It wasn't as quickly as I expected. But I can now, looking back, I can see that he was there through it all, straightening me, giving me a way out. And now I live a very blessed life with a loving husband, 3 children, and a wonderful church community. And to see how he transformed my life from those terrible years of just wishing that I wasn't alive, and now living this wonderful life I am living now, and just thinking, wow, I would have missed out on so much. I would have missed out on all this goodness he had for me if I had given up. And I'm really glad that I put my hope in him, the one true hope, Jesus Christ, who came for me when I didn't even know him. I had no reason to even call his name, or he still came for me, and he saved me. He kept pursuing me and saving me from every hurdle, and it was not easy at all. And there was a lot of suffering and crying and pain and grief and anger. But now I can look back and say, thank God for everything.
Monica, I want to thank you so much for sharing your story with us here on the How We Escape podcast. I am grateful.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share my story with your listeners and with you.
Please go out and get Monica's book. It's called Surviving a Tsunami at 13. There's a link to it in the show notes. Wherever you are listening, please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Our next story is coming soon, and you will not want to miss it. I want to end today's show with a quote from our guest Monica, which she shares with us in her book. She writes, "Regardless of your story, happiness is a choice you make. Until we meet again, I'm Rob Drake. Yellabai."
Have a story to share with us? Visit howweescape.com to get in touch.